Today we have giant corporate conglomerates, most of them based in the United States of America, that are exerting control over what people read, what people watch, what people hear. Two of the biggest conglomerates, and they're all led by people in their 40s, is the Alphabet conglomerate and the Meta conglomerate. Alphabet includes Google, its search engine, its location map, and so many other services that Google provides. It has a dominant share of the search market. It controls several other markets. Maps, among other things, location maps. Under Alphabet also comes YouTube. And Alphabet also owns the most popular, the Android operating system, which, if you exclude Apple, it has over 80%, I think 85% or even more of all the mobile phones across the world have the Android operating system. So you have Android, YouTube, and Google under one corporate conglomerate. Take Meta. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, and it's WhatsApp. India is the biggest user base for Facebook and WhatsApp. In a country of 1.4 billion people, if you look at the website of the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, we have over 1.1 billion, 110 crore or close to 120 crore SIMs, subscriber identity modules. Even if you take into account that there are people with more than one SIM, many SIMs are not active, in most parts of India, not just in the urban areas, in the smaller towns, in the rural areas, there are more SIMs than human beings. Such is the influence of the social media. And yes, that they have supported right-wing regimes across the world has been well documented, whether in the United States, in Brazil, in Turkey, in the Philippines, in Myanmar, in India. China has shut these guys off. Because they are monopolies, you are a YouTuber. You don't know how much advertising revenue Alphabet or Google or YouTube is earning from you. Because that algorithm is their proprietary, it's their property, it's their secret. So if they earn 100 rupees from your program, on a particular program through advertising, are they giving you 10 rupees or 20 rupees or 30 rupees or 40 rupees? You don't know and you'll never know. In certain parts of the world, like in Australia, in New Zealand, in France, in Germany, in Canada, there are attempts to curb this monopoly, to force Google and Facebook to disclose their algorithms and the changes they make. This has just begun. In India, we are nowhere in the picture. Our government may every now and then blow hot and cold against WhatsApp and say, WhatsApp, tell me who's the first originator of content, and WhatsApp says, we don't know. Ours is an end-to-end encrypted technology. We don't know who's put out what. So even when it comes to law enforcement, look, all the mob lynching episodes and incidents that have taken place in India in the last decade or so, behind all of them is a WhatsApp message. When a Muslim laborer was killed by a right-wing fanatic who's in jail at present, in Rajasthan's Rajsamand district, he was burnt to death. And a relative of this particular man shot that ghastly video. A lot of people viewed it. There are enough perverse people across the world, in India too. When the police person said, ask WhatsApp, tell us the first originator of this video, they said end-to-end encryption. So the government uses this logic to say, WhatsApp is not helping the government. It is not providing us information when it comes to tackling heinous crimes like murder, like rape, But what often happens, and we've seen this in the case of Facebook, the circumstances that led to the departure of Ankhi Das from that organization, the many exposes that have been brought out by international organizations, including the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post, about how the Bharatiya Janata Party's information technology cell and their whole right-wing ecosystem, their armies of trolls work. Swati Chaturvedi's book on the subject. And that's not all. There have been several exposes. Francis Hogan's disclosures, Sophie Zhang's disclosures, they are whistleblowers. They all show how these digital monopolies, how these social media platforms have been misused and abused by the right wing. There are several articles in this regard. They are commercial organizations, they are profit making organizations. They want your video, they want your post to go viral. They don't care whether it's fake or true. They don't care whether it's hateful or benign. So, behind the spread of Islamophobia and the growth of fascism in India, the social media has played a very important role. If today some of us believe that Islamophobia has reached a level where it used to be in the 1940s, when the subcontinent was partitioned before the birth of Pakistan and even after the birth of Pakistan, West and East Pakistan. East Pakistan is today, of course, Bangladesh. We see Islamophobia having risen to new levels. The right wing believes that Hindus are in danger. They don't care if Hindus comprise more than 80% of the population. That's what the last census that was done in 2011 has shown. And Muslims comprise what, 14 or 15%. And there's propaganda. How is it that 1/7 of your population is proving to be a great danger to 80% of your population? Hindu khatre mein hai, Hindus are in danger. But this kind of Islamophobia has spread across large sections of India's population and the youth, and not just the youth, among different sections of the population. And this, in my opinion, is not just unfortunate, it is extremely dangerous and does not portend well for the future of Indian democracy. Misinformation, you can be genuinely misinformed, but disinformation is propaganda, is deliberate spreading of lies. It's not new. Propaganda is very old. It's existed across the world, not just in Hitler's Germany and Mussolini's Italy. It's existed across the world. So what is new? The scale and the speed. The scale and the speed at which disinformation is spread is unprecedented because of the internet. Today, 2 out of 3 persons on this planet, or more than 2 out of 3 persons on the planet, have used the internet at one point of time or the other. The next point deals with, you mentioned Ravish Kumar. Ravish Kumar actually has talked about the Godi media. The Godi media are the lapdogs. They are not the watchdogs. They are the lapdogs. They are very comfortable if the lap is that of a powerful person, a politician, a corporate captain, a military officer, a top civil servant, or even a mafia don. So the Godi media finds everything wrong with the opposition and not the ruling dispensation. It does not question those who are in positions of power and authority. So the media, which is supposed to be the fourth estate, fails to play its role in a democracy by holding truth to power, by asking questions to those who are in positions of power and authority. It does not ensure greater transparency of public life. It does not ensure that those who are in power, they are held accountable for their actions, that their discretionary powers are kept in check. Let's move on further. Ravish Kumar also talked about the youth who are being educated in WhatsApp University, which spreads lies and half-truths and fake information and disinformation. And as I mentioned earlier, the sheer speed and the scale at which this is happening has never happened before across the world and also in India. How do you tackle this phenomenon? It's not easy, it's not simple. You want to use that same platform and criticize those you are benefiting from. How do you use that same social media to counter the trolls, the right-wing trolls? This is not easy. It's very difficult. Unless your viewer, your reader, your listener is more aware, is educated, and aware to a point that she or he does not become a victim of propaganda, learns to distinguish between what is true and what is not true, what is fake and what is real, what is a news report and what is an advertisement. These are not easy. Many people are easily misled. Then comes the revenue model. You don't want to pay for what you read. You don't want to pay for what you watch. You don't want to pay for what you listen. Who pays the writer? Who pays the photographer? Who pays the designer? Who pays the researcher? You want everything free. You don't want to pay for anything for it. You will get trash. You will get fake news. You will get false news. So when the reader is being asked to pay, or the listener is being asked to pay, or the viewer is being asked to pay, that poses a new set of challenges. So if today's non-mainstream media, for want of a better word, it is becoming gradually mainstream. More and more people are looking at reading on screens and not on pieces of paper. More people are watching videos on their handsets more than their television sets, but they're still going to the big screen once in a while. But you are seeing this attempts to control, whether it be over the top platforms, whether it be any and every form of communication. The whole idea is to control. In India, we have complete regulatory anarchy. We have so many statutory organizations, so many self-regulatory organizations that nobody knows who's doing what. The Central Board of Film Certification, also called the Censor Board, the Press Council of India, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, the Computer Emergency and Response Team, which is under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Then you have so-called self-regulatory bodies, the News Broadcasters Association, the Broadcast Complaints for Consumers, the Advertising Standards Council of India. So you have complete regulatory anarchy prevailing. So anything and everything is happening and everything is going. And once in a while, somebody tries to bring in a semblance of order and they fail. But this becomes an opportunity for the government to once again come down on independent media and use the rules, some of which are yet to be framed, under the Information Technology Act. So, privacy does not matter. What is freedom of expression then? What is freedom of speech? Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India, which guarantees every citizen of India. It's a fundamental right of every citizen. Freedom of expression. So long as you're not defaming somebody, so long as you're not maligning somebody in an illegal manner, not saying anything libelous. But you have Article 19(2), which imposes what are supposed to be reasonable restrictions on the right to free speech, which includes not hurting the interests of our friendly neighbors. But who decides what is reasonable? Is it your local gangster? Is it somebody who doesn't like your face? Is it the constable, the inspector, the station house officer? Is it the Inspector General of Police? Is it the magistrate in the lower court? Or is it the Chief Justice of India? So this word reasonable is so nebulous. doesn't include public order. These, these constitutional rights are being trampled on and abused over and over again. And this also explains what is called the chilling effect. You news click, we put Prabir Purakasta behind bars. Okay? He's in police custody and judicial custody. He's been there from the 3rd of October. He's 75 years old. You have seized 300 personal electronic devices of over 80 persons, many of them journalists, most of them journalists, their laptops, their mobile phones, their hard drives, their pen drives. You are depriving them of their livelihood. And the rules and the guidelines are to be framed by the Supreme Court of India or by the government of India for the Supreme Court of India. Under what circumstances can you seize personal electronic devices? You're using draconian laws like the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, under which bail becomes extremely difficult. So, this is indeed, unfortunately, the state of the media in India at present. Now they say, look, I've said all these things against the government, therefore you have freedom of expression. But who am I? Who are you? We are a minuscule part of the main media, the so-called non-mainstream media or the new media. How much do we matter? Are our voices being heard? These questions are not easy to answer. So whether it be crowdfunding, whether it be subscriptions, whether it be convincing your reader, your viewer, or your listener to pay, these are the big challenges that lie ahead of us for the media in this country and in other parts of the world as well, but certainly in India, to become truly independent and autonomous and play its role. The last point that I wish to make. Why do we have this situation? The most important, the most powerful man in this country, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, he's the only Prime Minister of India, the one and only Prime Minister of India who has never addressed a spontaneous, unscripted media conference, a press conference where journalists can ask him anything. One and only Prime Minister. He picks and chooses the people he's granted interviews to. Not just Rajat Sharma, Anjana Om Kashyap, Deepak Chaurasia, Sudhir Chaudhary. I can name many more. The Sudarshan TV person, Arnab Goswami, Navika Kumar, Rahul Shivshankar. What do I say? They've asked him questions that he wants to be asked. They've not cross-questioned him. They've not asked him difficult questions, pointed questions. They've not talked about several things. And Mr. Modi has also granted interviews to those who are not journalists. Prasun Joshi, who currently heads the Central Board of Film Certification. Here, watch the interview he did with Mr. Modi. Look at the questions he asks him. Look at the questions that have been asked to him. Look at the questions that well-known actor Akshay Kumar has asked our Prime Minister. He was formerly a citizen of Canada. Now I understand he's a citizen of India. He's one of the highest income tax payers of this country. He's a very popular film star. And then he asked Mr. Modi that his driver had asked him to ask a question to the Prime Minister of India. And what is that? Modi ji, aap aam kaise khate hain? How do you like to eat your mango? Do you cut it and peel the skin and then eat it? Or do you cut it from the top and then suck on it? आप चूस के खाते हैं या काट के खाते हैं? If this is the situation, the person who is the Prime Minister of India, supposedly the world's largest democracy, the person who is the most powerful man in the most populous country in the world with 1.4 billion people, why are you surprised that such a large section of the media has become his advertising agent, his public relations officer, the piper who plays a song he's asked to, the person who's paying him, he calls the tune. So these are the variety of reasons why the Indian media is what it is today. Why is the quality of journalism, according to you, according to several others, has degenerated? Where journalists are squabbling with each other to be the first to report, to be the first to do the PTC or the piece to camera. Why have we degenerated to this level? I am hopeful that the audiences, the people who watch these programs, the people who read what is written on the internet and the newspapers, the people who are listening, who are aware, will understand what is the Godi media. The people who are not being educated in WhatsApp University, they will realize what is happening. And what is happening is that sometimes when people become excessively arrogant, they act in a stupid manner. The BBC documentary is a classic case, made in English, 2 parts, each part running into something like over 50 minutes. How many people watched it? How many people watched it? After all, English is the language of the elite in India. What did you do? You banned that documentary. That's the surest way to ensure more people watched it. Okay, you can go and raid the offices of the BBC and say that you're doing, you're not paying your taxes properly, or you can say the BBC has a colonial mindset. You can say anything you like, but as soon as you ban something, it's the surest way to gain an audience, and that's what they did. There are several other ways in which excessively arrogant people behave, and this is just one example.